there's a rebellious edge in me, and I do things sometimes just to be visible in a space. And, I wish I were a better guitarist. That's a whole thing I could get into. But even the fact that I play it all is important to me, because I know it's not an image that people see all the time, which is why, I get these references to Tracy Chapman, because it's like, oh, I've seen a Black woman play guitar before. And yeah, so just like being another person who can be referenced is important in terms of adding stock and adding visibility. And even in academics, like part of the reason I'm studying classics is not out of spite, but like just to be here, just to be a Black person, a Black woman in the room, because otherwise there'll be like one or two other people. So like, I'll do it. I'll be here. I'll say things that people haven't mentioned. I'll be like, hey, why aren't we talking about Africa and the Roman Empire? Because otherwise these conversations won't happen. So I'm all for taking a stand for its own sake.
That was Uwade, and this is SHEROES, a weekly podcast to amplify women, non-binary, and genderqueer voices in music across genres and generations. We do this because we believe that sharing our stories is the first step to making music better for everyone. I'm Carmel Holt. After meeting today's guest, I did a quick Google search on musicians who've also earned advanced degrees. I was curious. And it gave me an interesting and, mostly male and all white list. The list included Brian May, who's best known as a guitarist for Queen, who earned a PhD in astrophysics, the lead vocalist of Bad Religion, Greg Graffin, who also holds a PhD in zoology. One half of the duo, Simon and Garfunkel, Art Garfunkel, earned a master's degree in mathematics. And the lead vocalist and guitarist for The Offspring, Dexter Holland, he holds a PhD in molecular biology. Also in 2022, Maggie Rogers graduated from Harvard Divinity School with a master's degree. Now, this, of course, is not counting honorary degrees, but if all goes according to plan, the list of professional musicians scholars is on track to soon include a name that will shake up the white maleness of it all. When I spoke with a Nigerian-born, North Carolina-raised singer and songwriter Uwade for today's episode, she was recording her side of the interview from Stanford University, where she's currently enrolled in a PhD program in classics after studying at Columbia and Oxford. I think that's the first time in my career that I've ever said those words. And when I learned that the title of Uwade's debut, Florilegium, is a Latin word with a double meaning, a gathering of flowers or literary collection, it struck me how absolutely perfect this title was to introduce an artist whose life is currently devoted to two worlds, as well as one whose origin story is also from two worlds, Nigeria and North Carolina. No wonder it took over a year and a half and 3 studio sessions to complete Florilegium, which included time spent with Sam Cohen in upstate New York and in North Carolina at Sylvanesso's studio Betty's with engineer Ali Rogers. During that time, Uwade also began making a name for herself touring with Fleet Foxes after contributing guest vocals on their album Shore, and with SHEROES alum Jamila Woods, among others. I couldn't wait to talk with Uwade about her fantastic album and how all of the parts of her life, pursuits, and passions became Florilegium. I'm so thrilled to welcome Uwade as this week's Shero in the spotlight. Uwade, welcome to SHEROES. How are you doing today? Where are you?
I'm good. I'm in my dorm room / apartment on campus. Just submitted an assignment, have a department event later today. I'm deep in the throes of school. I'm studying classics, which is just a funny name for ancient Greek and Latin languages, literature, history, philosophy, whatever, archaeology, whatever you want to study. But I just do the languages and literature side of things. Yeah.
End goal? Is this like going to be a side career? Is this just for your expanding brain? Or
I would say
backup plan if the music thing doesn't work out?
It's a combination of all of that. Like I've always loved school and I studied classics and I loved it. And I feel like without some sort of intellectual stimulation, my life feels very dull. Even when I'm like doing what I love with music, I still need to think and I need to talk to people about my thoughts. So I was like, well, this might be the best of both worlds. It's proved quite difficult, but it's fun sometimes.
So help us put the pieces together, because I'm seeing you now as this like mega brain going for your PhD, two very different sides of you. How did music come into the picture for you? Has that always been a side of you and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. I've always loved singing and performing and music. And when I was younger, it was like the thing that I was kind of known for. And then for whatever reason, like in the transition from middle school to high school, I just decided I was like, I'm going to focus on like school. And so I did. But I also kept up with music and performance. And it's just always been this sort of parallel track that I've been on. And my life never quite feels complete without one or the other. So like I couldn't just, do this program and not do anything with music. I would lose my mind. But then also when I'm just touring and don't really have anything to do other than play and be by myself, because when I'm touring, I go back home and it's just me and my mom. And so it's sort of like a very different lifestyle. And so I miss this sort of community and engagement with other people and just thinking about interesting things.
So did you study music growing up? Like, how did you and music meet up first?
I was just in choirs. I did choir in elementary school.
North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina. But I never studied music, and I did that kind of deliberately. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just was like, it's like, I'm not going to do that. I liked the idea. Maybe it was sort of this, youthful rebellion. Like, I'm not like everyone else. I don't know what it was. But I just refused to study music academically because I was like, it's not an academic thing for me. There's an academic side of me and there's the side of me that music fulfills, and I'm not going to blend the two or else I might end up hating music. So
that's so smart. You're right. So you get to really like keep those two parts of you in their respective buckets.
Yes.
Say. Yeah.
Yes. Which has pros and cons, I think. Yeah.
I want to get more of your story and go deeper into the making of this record, but why don't we go to a clip of a song here? If you were to meet up with somebody who had never heard your music before, what song off this record would you point them to first to get to know you?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say Harmattan, I would point them to. All of my songs start in different ways and I finish them quite quickly. So like I'll usually start a song and just like power into it for like a weekend and then maybe edit a bit later. But this one was, I started it and it felt really close to my spirit somehow, but I couldn't figure out where I wanted it to go. And so it was like one burst of creativity and then like lots of time just trying to come back, not quite getting it. And then one fall, I just like sat down and was listening to some songs and it just came together and it felt like, I don't know, it felt like the combination of all of my musical influences in a way. Because I was inspired by some rock stuff for some of the melodic progressions, but then the beat is very West African inspired, but then the singing is still sort of soft and emotional in the way that I generally am. And so it just feels like the mix of everything that is in my brain most times.
Track 4 on the debut album for Uwade called Florilegium.
Yes.
And that song features you on more instruments, I noticed, than any other track on this record.
Yeah, it does. I don't know how to play very many instruments very well, but for my demos, I usually just like do some makeshift tapping on tables and like, snapping myself. And so I wanted to incorporate that into the recording as well. So I think we were able to. It was fun.
So you play guitar, percussion, piano, and hand claps,
yes,
as you pointed out. Yeah.
Very important.
Talk to us a little bit about this collection of songs, where it began. Did you have the desire to make a record? Let's start there. I mean, were you like, I've been doing this music thing as this, other bucket that we've been talking about for a while. I'd love to put all my songs together, or I'd like to write a batch of songs and make a record. Was that a goal of yours?
Definitely. And actually, well before this, back in 2020, I recorded like a full record that has never seen the light of day. But some songs, like The Man Who Sees Tomorrow, is from that record. And I did want to put out a full length sort of body of work. But because I was sort of new to things, I didn't really know how to get things to sound the way I wanted them to. Even when working with a producer, like having the language and the confidence to say, I want it to be like this. I have these references, but I also want it to be sort of particular to me. And so it just took time of sort of developing myself and playing more and understanding what I liked to sort of be able to say, okay, I want these songs to be put together. I have my demos and I want them to sound like the demos, but I want to incorporate the creativity of the musicians. And so that was kind of the goal, to sort of be as close to the idea I had in mind, but then to really rely a lot on people's interpretations and where they heard their parts going. And that was a lot of fun.
How did you go about finding the right people? Because if you're going in blind, you know, especially as a woman, usually the people in the studio settings are men.
Yeah.
Even with the best intentions, especially when we don't have a lot of experience or the language, it's easy to not end up with what you wanted. So how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think I was lucky in that for most of the recording sessions that I had, I was working with people who I trusted already, that I'd sort of built relationships with from playing and touring in the past. And I'd never worked with them for anything of this scale or scope, but I felt comfortable enough telling them what I wanted. And they actually would like pick the musicians, and I trusted them because I knew some of them and they were fantastic. But I think working with people who I already kind of felt comfortable with gave me the confidence to keep just like working the muscle of saying yes or no, or I want it like this, or I don't want it like this, or I love this idea, or what do you think? And it's great to start with people that you trust, because then again, it's sort of like exercising the ability to speak, and it makes it easier to then meet someone you don't know and say, listen, I respect what you think, but this is not what I want.
Right.
And so I'm not going to let you take it there. And that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's super smart. I know that the record was done in a few different parts with different teams too. And actually, you recorded part of the record right around the corner from where I live with a friend of mine named Sam Cohen, who I absolutely adore. Yes. So, I mean, I say this with like so much love for Sam. I think he's probably more the exception to that comment that I made before.
Yeah.
So not to throw shade at all men in producer roles, you know, but still, I love to explore the difference of, say, working with a Sam Cohen versus going to Betty's.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of folks around that are actually, unfortunately, a little bit rare to see in those roles.
Very true. Yeah. I loved working with Sam. It was like a great introduction to what it meant to be like sort of collaborative with a producer. I don't know, just the things that he can do and the ideas and the places that he takes things. It was so inspiring, and it kind of gave me the courage to see where these songs could go that I hadn't thought of before. And then going somewhere like Betty's, that was just like, it felt like summer camp. It felt like a sleepover. It felt like I was working with my dear friend now, Allie, and like half of our sessions were like personal therapy, and half of them were just like playing and just having fun. And that was like, I don't know, those weekends and the weeks that I spent there felt like just one long flow state. And I'm sure working there for Allie is very different because it's sort of a job and you clock in and out. But I was so deeply immersed that like I would forget to eat. I'd be like, oh yeah, we can go till midnight. Like, you don't have anything to do, right? You don't need to sleep. I don't need to sleep. Let's just get this sound right. Let's just get this part perfect. I think it'll be fine. And she's like, we can just do this in the morning. But I was so just taken by the sense of comfort that I felt working with, I think, honestly, working with a woman and working with someone who I would sort of, if not completely understand my language, at least validate it very readily, because that was just the way she operated. And so it was so nice to have that space and have that space provided, and also just be in this mutual give and take. So it was a great experience. I love Betty's.
That's amazing. And for listeners that aren't familiar where Betty's is, it's a studio that was built and founded by Sylvan Esso, Amelia Meath, and her partner Nick Sanborn, and it's in North Carolina as well.
Mhm.
Now, is that close to where you grew up, or because that's in Durham, right?
Yeah, about a 2-hour drive, which is
Mm-hmm.
close for America, honestly. I think anything in North Carolina is like crazy close compared to flying to New York or flying to, like, I drove to Sam's, so that was a 2-day journey, 12
Whoa.
hours. Yeah. But it's so cool. You know, I would go up on a Saturday and leave the same day, just like mix all day and drive back. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, nice. So, do you want to take us to a track that you worked on at Betty's?
Yeah, Call It a Draw was a song that was entirely done at Betty's. And that was one of those instances of like, I had my demo, I had my idea, and there was sort of the bones of the song. And that was really exciting to me. But then the drummer, TJ, we had been talking about our favorite drummers and drumming styles and Afro beats, and he just did a little riff of something that was very sort of syncopated. And I'm pretty sure I just started screaming because I was like, this is exactly right. And that was magical. That whole experience of writing that song and recording it was just so much fun. And it felt like my first step into trying to write songs that are emotional but aren't as sort of pensive and dramatic, just kind of more of a party, a vibe. That was the goal.
Call It a Draw. That's track 2 on the Uwade album, Florilegium. We have Uwade in the Shero Spotlight this week, and I'm Carmel Holt. So we were talking about that you worked on that song at Betty's, among other songs, and that amazing summer camp vibe, and just kind of the shorthand that you get when you work with a woman.
Yeah.
And again, we're fans of all genders here on Sheroes, so not to throw Sam Cohen, dear Sam Cohen, under the bus. But yeah, it's true. It's just you find your tribes, right? You find your people. And when you have that common language, especially when it comes to gender, I think there's nothing like it. Is that something that you think now that you've experienced that you might want to replicate in the future? And is it important to you to see that balance and that inclusion in studio settings, on tour?
Definitely. Actually, I should start thinking about the second album because I guess it's time. Once it's out, it's time to start. But I would love to, I would love to have more women in the spaces that I record because I do think whether I like it or not, there is a sense of freedom that comes with feeling or maybe assuming, but that I would be understood. And more often than not, I am. And so, yeah, I think it's important to have a balance. And I think somehow there can be, at least for me, and thinking about the industry, when I was thinking of recording the album and during the process of it, I was very concerned about like having a particular sound and making it sort of fit into the like indie space. And I think that comes with, in my head, a lot of like a desire to like conform to what is often these sort of trends in production that are often dictated by male producers, which is totally fine. And I love the sounds and they're beautiful. But I think having, again, the confidence to just create something and validate yourself in that, okay, I think this sounds good. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have the same, dry snare sound or whatever that people think is the sound of the moment, and just incorporating people who validate ourselves in the space and put work out inspired by what we think sounds good and not what we think someone else tells us sounds good, I think is really beautiful and important for me.
That's so interesting. I mean, and ultimately, the goal is to be able to achieve both, right?
Of course.
But thinking in terms of what your priorities are, particularly once you get through those initial whatever those challenges may be in terms of sonic language and engineering language and being able to translate to your session players or your band or your producers what the sound is that you have in your head that you're hearing for your own music. But equally important, and what I'm hearing is maybe even more important, is creating the creative environment, the safe environment in order to feel that you can get to that place. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing that's going to help you birth it, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Feeling
Mhm.
this freedom from judgment and freedom from expectation and just playing and just enjoying and like having the goal in mind again of making things sound good and being able to communicate, but that not being the first thing that's in one's mind when you walk into a studio. Because I think
Right.
it's good to have a goal. But for me, the best things happen when I am free to think and sort of develop and refine my thoughts and share them happily and freely and without feeling restricted. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about genre was also the fact that your heritage is Nigerian. You were born there, and that we have a terrible habit here, and probably it's a global problem too, of putting people of color in a genre box too,
Yeah.
you know? But I think it's been harder. This is just my impression in indie spaces for people of color to find a place. Would you say that that's true?
I think so. I think there's always, like, even if there's space in the indie world, there are still these sort of genre markers that kind of come with talking about people of color. At least in my case, I am inspired quite a bit by R&B, but sometimes the descriptions of my songs, when they're like soulful R&B blues and
Yeah.
these rhythms, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of really interesting rhythms. But I think about a song like, The Second Station, I really tried to like channel some rock in there. And so
Yeah.
if I were to see a description of that as like soulful, I guess, yeah, my voice is soulful, but I don't see that description used for lots of other indie singers. And so it's sort of, there's some signals that persist, but I think it's beautiful that genre is sort of melting away and people are just creating what they want to create. It can lead to issues, but yeah, I will say that there's still some things, some ways that people struggle to place, I think, people of color in indie without referring to other people of color. Yeah.
Right. Comparing you to Tracy Chapman, maybe.
Yes,
Or,
yeah. There's a lot of that.
right.
And I appreciate it because I think it's nice to have reference for artists, but it's just a matter of ensuring that those are actually about the music and not about how I look and the outfit I'm wearing on stage. So.
Absolutely. Since you took us there, great segue to talk about visibility and being perceived both on stage, on social media. What has that experience been for you thus far in that way?
Oh, I have a very difficult relationship with social media. Yeah, I don't know that I enjoy being perceived online. I think it's quite hard for me. And prior to this album cycle, I would have months at a time where I would delete Instagram and just like live my life free as a bird, happy as a clam, and then return, whether for, tour promotion or something. And it's just, there's always been a tension there because I think this is an interesting point because I'm Nigerian and because a lot of my followership is actually in Nigeria because of some songs that I've done, I struggle to like feel comfortable sharing all the parts of myself because if I'm speaking to Nigerian people, all of the people who in the US who are like sort of following me because of, my Fleet Foxes connection will be like, what is this? And if I'm speaking to, more indie-minded people, everyone in Nigeria is like, I don't understand this girl. And maybe that's just my perception and that's like a projection, but I never know how to share the fullness of myself in this sort of very two-dimensional platform and social media because we don't see all of the nuances when we're talking online and it's very curated and specific. And so I struggle with that quite a bit.
And sometimes I wish that everyone would just like stop with the curation because I think as much as it is such a breeding ground for toxicity, it's also an amazing, powerfully potent connecting tool.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I mean, we saw that during the pandemic, you know? And so it would be so cool if people would just be so unfiltered, because I think so much of the danger zones of mental health, for example, just to even check that box,
Mhm.
or like for women, because we're on this show talking about women
Yeah.
and gender roles and sexism, like the perceived standards that we get held to or that we hold ourselves to, you
Yeah.
know? It would be so amazing to break some of that down. I know there's some people doing that work, you
Of
know?
course. Of course.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, and particularly like this, where you're talking about like holding space for this international
Yeah.
relationship that you have with your fans too.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just like, I don't know, it's so it's so silly because I think so much of this is my own the limitations I'm placing upon myself, which says a lot about, where did I get those ideas from?
I'm sure it's from an external source.
Yeah. But I mean, even in, the sort of folk indie scene, I feel a very strong pull towards this kind of beautifully organic, but also sort of perfectly posed and perfectly poetic and
Yes.
introspective. And there's a character that is built quite a lot. And I know it's quite real for many people, but then where's the space for humor and where's the space for lightheartedness? And sometimes I'm not deep. Sometimes I'm just stupid. And that's
Yeah.
like, that's okay. It's okay for your songs to have, richness and depth, and then for you to just talk about a SpongeBob meme. And that's just sort of putting all of that together presents such a challenge. And I think it says a lot sometimes also about how women are not always allowed to have multiple facets. It's like you can be
Correct.
beautiful, but you can't also be smart. Or you can be smart, but you can't be and you can be beautiful, but not funny. And if you're funny, then you're not. And it's just all, yeah, so many pressures, so many pressures.
So many pressures. Yeah. I was curious to dig in a little bit, if you don't mind, into talking about specifically, well, your mother's Nigerian. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Both
Okay.
of my parents, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So culturally there, like what are gender roles like? What was modeled for you growing up? And like, because living in the diaspora, you know, but
Yeah.
like you have a Nigerian mom.
Mhm.
So can you talk to us a little bit about that and how that may give you a different perspective on things?
Yeah. I think things are always different in the diaspora. I mean, of course I can't speak for everyone, but
Of course.
I would say that in general, Nigeria is quite traditional in terms of like what women are expected to do. And there's still the expectation that, me and my friends are always like breaking down my mom's what she tells us. And she's open to our new ideas. But, women are meant to take care of the children and the home and and cooking, et cetera, et cetera. But also lots of women work, almost all of them that I know of. And my mom had and has a business when I was growing up. And so I saw modeled this like woman who could do it all, which
Wow.
I think has inspired me in a lot of ways. And I think she struggled a lot and it was quite hard for her. But I saw her both working and in charge of this beautiful booming business, and then also trying her best to take care of things at home. And I saw my dad doing his own form of work as a professor and, cooking for himself as well. So it was just sort of like everyone was doing everything, which was nice. I think it presented this sort of choice in my mind and this option and this freedom. It's not like I have to do one or the other. I can do both, and it'll be hard to, try to raise a family and also raise a business, but it's possible. And, people don't have to suffer. Like you can you can choose. And so that was beautiful. And I felt a lot of freedom to take care of myself and dream for myself in a way that, I don't know if everyone is lucky enough to. So
That sounds kind of ideal.
yeah.
And also like you've got the bar set high for yourself too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Uwade here with us on Sheroes. The debut album is called Florilegium. What do you think? Should we play a clip of The Second Station? You mentioned your father. I know he shows up in a few of these songs. He sadly passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
Your pick, wherever you'd like to go next.
Let's go to The Place in the Sky.
You want to tell us a little bit about this before we go into it?
Yeah. I wrote this song a couple weeks maybe after my father passed away. And I think I had just returned from his burial in Nigeria. And I had been listening to several songs quite. I had a whole playlist that was on repeat. But This Must Be the Place by the Talking Heads and My Sweet Lord. And so I think, yeah, that whole milieu of just like thinking about going somewhere and meeting someone who loves you very much and just like being with this sort of sense of warmth and connection and acceptance was kind of milling around and thinking about the fact that my dad had just sort of left the earth. I was sort of just dreaming about the place that he could have gone to. And that's where this song came from.
The lead track to the Uwade album, Florilegium. Uwade is our guest today on Sheroes, and I'm Carmel Holt. So beautiful, and I love that the album opens this way. And
Thank you.
you were, was it 2020
that
this happened? Yeah, so there was so much loss. I mean, gosh, what a time to be experiencing personal loss in this time of global loss and disconnection. I can only imagine what that was like for you.
Yeah, it was very, I don't know, somehow I have always believed that, like, in some way, suffering connects all of us. And, like, life sort of became more real after I lost my dad. I was thinking a lot more about how other people had lost people at that time. And it sort of felt like I was like dialed into this channel of like understanding that everything is so fragile and that we only get to do this once. And once it's over, that's it. So that was really, I haven't been able to get back there since. And it's sort of amazing how life changes in that way. But yeah, it was equal parts difficult and also comforting. I think being able to sort of connect more deeply to the fact that everyone around the world was also scared and losing people and not sure of what would come next. And my own experience of that was just like a little fraction of our human condition. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really does bring everything into perspective. And it is hard to hold, to carry with you on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. It doesn't last forever. And I as much as the pandemic was this horrible nightmare, I also think the silence and the isolation was like incredible in a lot of ways because I had to just be what I was. And I had I had nothing to distract me. Like, yeah, you can only watch like Real Housewives so many times. And then you're just like, I need to focus on my life and do something. And so I just had to be without any obstructions. Like I couldn't go out and see my friends. So I was writing music and I was thinking about how I was feeling. And it was just like so real. That's the only way I can describe it.
Do you write often?
When I'm not like knee deep in a program like this, yes. But I try to journal kind of frequently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
So thank you for asking. I don't enough. I really love to write. Yeah. And I think I've been reconnecting lately with the power of writing with a pen because I love this astrologer named Chani Nicholas.
You know what's so crazy? My friend got me her book, You Were Born for This.
Oh, really? You were born for this?
Yeah, it's in my living room.
Oh, dude, you have to read it. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. And her app is amazing. It's like one of the only apps that I pay for on a I have the premium subscription, and I'm like, I'm deep in it. I'm in it.
Okay.
So anyway, she has this course. This is not a paid advertisement, but she has a breakthrough course, a 28-day breakthrough course.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it. I'm on day 25 today.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really gotten me back into daily practice and gotten me back into writing. And one of the things that she was saying is that it's science. Like there's something that happens in your brain when you physically write
Yeah.
something versus like when you're just like typing things out. I mean, I don't want to diminish the power of writing anything anyway.
Yeah.
And if that's the way that works for you, of course. But like there is something very, very specific that happens writing things down. And I've always intuitively felt that. And so, as a long-winded way to answer your question, I've been writing almost daily
Oh,
again. I
wow.
love it. I don't always write a lot, even
Yeah.
if it's just a few words or a thought that comes up during a meditation or whatever.
Mhm.
But I'm always so curious about the creative process, and especially for somebody like you who is so deeply immersed in academia, and it's a lot of left brain, right brain stuff going on. So if you're finding that those two intersect, like, do you find that your approach to songwriting changes when you're fully immersed and you're like, oh, I'm going to write a song, but like, I don't know. How does that work for you?
I'm just thinking, but I think it does intersect. I think when I'm fully immersed in this like literary world, I'm more interested in making connections in my songwriting and sort of tying my experience to someone else's and like making these like allusions and like word plays and whatnot. And
Right.
I think about when I was like studying abroad for the first time and that I really saw that happening. I was just like fully writing songs about the things I was reading and like trying to like play with language because that's what I'm studying, like how these poets have done that. But then when I'm not so much or when I'm doing stuff that I'm not really interested in sometimes, then it's just more about unpacking my emotional state and
Right.
just trying to get a raw experience solidified and condensed on a page.
Are you bilingual?
I'm not, sadly.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Just thinking about, studying language in general and what that does to your understanding of rhythm
Mm,
and how it influences wordplay, word
right.
craft, song craft. It's like a different muscle to just like, I feel sad today and I'm writing a
Yeah.
song, which is so great too.
Yeah, no, completely. I think in poetry, I actually don't know enough about like contemporary American poetry or English poetry, but I feel like there's a lot less focus on like meter and rhythm. There's still rhyme, obviously, but like I think the closest that I experience to what it means to value meter and rhythm is in rap. And like, someone like Nicki Minaj. I love Nicki Minaj. I think her approach to like not only signifying value through the content of the words, but even how they're placed is just like crazy. And I know so many other artists do it too, but just like in the very condensed form, I think of rap. And it's like all these like rhetoricians and like speakers that I read about, that's just like the same thing they were doing. Cause like they would change the order of the structure of a sentence to like make the end sound extra good and like make people convinced of their argument because it fell on this certain beat. And that I think that's really powerful. And English can't do that as much, but like it's cool to see it happen in other languages and other possibilities for that.
I hope you don't mind. I want to use that as a segue to talk about representation in music. We touched on this before just in terms of genre, but I was getting ready to talk to you today and I was reading some press interviews that you've done. There's a Brooklyn Vegan article where you were kind of breaking down track by track some of the songs off of Florilegium. You mentioned a few sheroes of mine as well, including Kate Bush.
Yes.
You talked about Sister Rosetta Tharpe and actually even referred to The Place in the Sky. But like, I mean, especially back in Sister Rosetta Tharpe's day, there weren't that many women playing guitar, certainly
Yeah.
not that many Black women playing guitar.
Yeah.
What have you seen? I know you don't like start making music nobody does to, tackle visibility or make a feminist statement, or even if maybe you don't even identify as a feminist, but like, do you think that it's important to push forward on that? Do you even think that there's an imbalance? I mean, what's your feelings on gender and music?
I definitely think there's an imbalance. Like I think especially in like being a Black woman playing the guitar, I think that's like a statement. Like I see people like, an artist I really love, her. she's an incredible guitarist. And I feel like because she does R&B and she's a Black woman, it's sort of like, even in highlighting her amazing skill, it's just sort of like, oh wow, and she can also do this thing, and but like, not as well as everyone. It's just sort of, I don't know, it's a strange thing. And like, even thinking about someone like Prince, incredible instrumentalist, but that's not necessarily everyone's focus, or it's just not sort of celebrated in the way that it ought to be. So I do think there's a rebellious edge in me, and I do things sometimes just to be visible in a space. And, I wish I were a better guitarist. That's a whole thing I could get into. But even the fact that I play it all is important to me, because I know it's not an image that people see all the time, which is why, I get these references to Tracy Chapman, because it's like, oh, I've seen a Black woman play guitar before.
Tracy Chapman.
There's a connection. And yeah, so just like being another person who can be referenced is important in terms of adding stock and adding visibility. And even in academics, like part of the reason I'm studying classics is not out of spite, but like just to be here, just to be a Black person, a Black woman in the room, because otherwise there'll be like one or two other people. So like, I'll do it. I'll be here. I'll say things that people haven't mentioned. I'll be like, hey, why aren't we talking about Africa and the Roman Empire? Because otherwise these conversations won't happen. So I'm all for taking a stand for its own sake.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. Why does the labor always fall on the people that need to...
At a certain point, you have to take care of yourself, but sometimes
true.
It's okay to just do it for representation's sake. Yeah.
I think so. And by the way, it's never too late to learn how to play guitar.
That's true. That's true. I know. It's just time. I need to just take a summer and just like learn to shred. I should have studied music. I should have.
It's not too late for that either. Uwade, it's been so fun to have you here. Before we wrap up, I close each episode giving my guests a magic wand. Oh. It's a very special magic wand. I'm going to hand it to you through the Zoom. Here you go. Hold it carefully.
Receiving.
Okay. It's a little heavy. It might be a little heavier than you think.
Okay.
Because with this wand, you could change anything in the music industry for women, for non-binary folks, for queer folks, for women of color, for anyone that doesn't have an equal voice or a place. You've got the wand in your hand now. Uwade, first wave of the wand. What would you change?
Oh my goodness. First wave of the wand. This is like a world in which I can do anything.
Yes.
Everyone who doesn't have the opportunity to have as big of a voice gets $100,000 a year salary off the bat to pursue anything they want, devote themselves to the music, build studios, build empires and whatever, and just have the infrastructure and healthcare and everything you need to be a musician without stressing about it. Boom.
May it be so.
May it be so.
Uwade, what a pleasure to have you here. So fun to hang out with you. I hope this is the first of many times that you'll come to SHEROES.
I hope so too. And I hope I can also come visit you in New York. It's such a beautiful area you live in.
Come on back.
Yes.
Come on back. Take us out with a song. What song off of this record should we go out with today?
Let's go out with Clearer Through You.
Ooh. This might be one of my favorites off the record.
Oh, yay. It's a Sam Cohen original.
It's a Sam Cohen original. Anything you want to tell us about the song before we go in?
Well, this song is a shedding of a perspective. I wrote it after my dad passed, and I was just thinking about what it means to see yourself through another person and how beautiful that can be sometimes, but also how harmful. So it's an invitation to everyone and myself to stand in who you are and try to define yourself, not in reference to other people all the time, or like not looking through other people's eyes, but just like standing in yourself. Yeah, sometimes things look clearer through other people, but recognizing that will hopefully give me the courage to say, no, this is who I am, even if you don't see me this way, or even if you do.
with thanks once again to Uwade. Thank you for being with us on SHEROES.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Massive thanks to Uwade for joining us. Florilegium is available everywhere on 30 Tigers. SHEROES is produced by me, is mixed and mastered by Kelly Drake. Our original theme music is by Lucius. SHEROES is also a nationally syndicated radio show. Please visit SHEROESradio.com to find out more. Keep in touch on Instagram and Twitter at SHEROES Radio, and please consider leaving us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps us grow and bring you more SHEROES. Until next time, remember, music is our superpower. I'm Carmel Holt. Thanks for listening. SHEROES is proud to present The Road to Joni, celebrating the legacy and impact of Joni Mitchell. Subscribe now to The Road to Joni, distributed by Talkhouse and available wherever you get your podcasts.